Can you please call the roll?
President Kazi.
Here.
Vice President Hunt.
Here.
Member Gresham.
Here.
Member Holcomb.
Here.
Member Thompson. We have a quorum.
Thank you. I will, unless there are any additions or subtractions from the agenda, I will entertain a motion to accept the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll
Second.
Oh, okay.
Ooh,
It's all you.
that was seconded by Mr. Hunt. Please vote.
Did you get yours?
I did.
Oh, I haven't got mine.
Yeah. Technology is really fast tonight.
This is.
I'm going to make the assumption that the motion carries. You haven't voted yet? We have at least 3 votes.
I vote aye.
Okay, thank you.
Should we do a voice vote?
Oh, there we, and the motion carries. Thank you. All right. Well, we are ready for our Pledge of Allegiance. I'm hoping that the students that are here tonight would be willing to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Is that okay with you guys? I did not expect that. That was absolutely
Fun
lovely.
birthday
Thank
party.
you. And thank you, students. That was really well done. Moving along to a need for executive session. Any board member need to call an executive session? Okay, seeing that we do not need. Moving along to item number 4, presentations or communications and announcements. Dr. Guerin.
President Kazi, members of the board, cabinet, and guests, I'm pleased to invite MDTCA President Anna Andrews to the podium.
Thank you. The You Make the Difference and Shining Star Awards are presented by the Madison District Classified, Certified, and Classroom Teachers Association and Madison Administration to recognize the certified and classified staff who truly demonstrate Madison's vision of inspiring passion for learning and leading in an ever-changing world. All right, our first You Make the Difference award goes to Kate Harrington. It is with great pride that we recognize Kate as the recipient of the You Make the Difference award. Kate is an inspiring educator who truly brings learning to life each day through her creativity, passion, and deep understanding of her students' individual needs. She is exceptionally well-spoken and communicates with clarity and warmth, whether she is engaging students, collaborating with colleagues, or partnering with families. Her words motivate, encourage, and often bring a welcome touch of humor that makes others feel at ease and inspired. What truly sets Kate apart is her enormous heart and her genuine care for every student. She consistently goes above and beyond to ensure that students feel seen, supported, and valued. Her classroom is a place where students feel safe to take risks, ask questions, and discover their strengths. Learning in Kate's room is not only meaningful, it is joyful. She models kindness and respect daily by treating students with dignity and compassion, and she encourages perseverance and resilience by teaching students to approach challenges with confidence and curiosity. Kate's impact extends far beyond her classroom. She has a strong understanding of differentiated instruction and has successfully taught the gifted cluster while also being exceptional at reaching students who need additional time, care, and support. One powerful example of her dedication is the major role she played in helping a student who struggled upon first arriving at Rose Lane. Through her patience, consistency, and belief in that student, she helped completely turn this year around and guide him towards success. In addition to her instructional strengths, Kate brings humor and positivity to our school community. Her approachable and kind personality builds strong relationships and makes even the most challenging days brighter. She is a trusted and safe presence for both students and adults, uplifting those around her and contributing to a positive, collaborative school culture. As the team lead for her grade level, Kate leads with heart and purpose, working to implement new systems and guide her team in ways that benefit all students. She remains adaptable and innovative, continuously finding new approaches to meet the demands of our ever-changing educational needs, all while maintaining a positive attitude during challenging times. Through her dedication, leadership, and commitment to students and colleagues, she makes a difference every single day. Kate is an exceptionally deserving recipient of the You Make the Difference award.
Ooh, splash. Ooh. Just be careful. Hope I make some of yourself. Thank you, everyone.
Would you like to say it?
Yeah, this is family. This is home to me, and I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here without everybody who supports me, helps, guides, and all the love. So, thank you.
Did you bring anyone with you?
I did. I have a sick daughter. This is their school as well, and husband's at work, traveling. So yeah, it's me.
Congratulations.
Our next You Make the Difference award recipient is Rachel Alexander. We are so pleased to nominate one of Rose Lane's preschool teachers, Rachel Alexander, for the You Make the Difference award. She teaches in one of the 4-year-old classrooms and uses her previous elementary education experience as a bridge to help prepare her students for a successful transition to kindergarten. There are many things that make Rachel stand out. She deeply cares, not just about her students, but about their families, and has supportive interactions that keep positive communication flowing, forge relationships of trust, and ultimately help students thrive. She was new to the district last year and came to us with lots of skills from her teaching days in Chicago, but she is also very willing to be coached and works to implement suggestions and new ideas into her classroom practice. She is a kind and steady presence on her team and actively looks for ways to build connections with colleagues. Here are some of the things coworkers say about how Rachel makes a difference. From a classroom aide. Her hard work every day makes her someone incredible to work with. She always comes to work with a big smile on her face, ready to start her day. She teaches students how to get along and play with each other and build relationships every single day of the week, and how to problem solve. She is truly a one-of-a-kind teacher. I am lucky to be her preschool aide this year. The kiddos and I are really lucky to have her, and she always brightens the room as soon as she walks in. Thank you, Mrs. Rachel. From her site coordinator. Parents love how welcoming and personable Mrs. Rachel is. At a site level, we truly appreciate her willingness to try new things, accept feedback, and implement changes when needed to help certain kiddos. She's always kind to all of her students and goes out of her way to help students feel safe and cared for. She is such a wonderful asset to the community ed preschool family. From a fellow preschool teacher, Rachel is a kind-hearted and always puts her students' best interests first. She has great relationships with her families and walks them through their students' school adventures. She has grown so much since starting last year with us and is always looking for new ways to engage her students. Whether she is helping families find hand-me-down clothing, gently talking with parents about how tardies impact both learning and self-regulation, playing math games with her students, lesson planning, or creating a warm and thoughtful learning environment with rich opportunities for play and exploration, Rachel always works hard to make a difference, making her truly worthy of this award.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for joining us.
Thank you.
Pictures, Sim.
Thank you.
Would you like to say?
Thank you. I know John and Julie are here from community ed, and my family's here, my parents, my husband, and my 2 kids. One's in preschool and one's in first grade in the district, so they're assignment.
All right, our first Shining Star Award recipient is Gage Huddleston. It is with great appreciation that we recognize Gage as the recipient of our Shining Star Award. Gage is an incredibly hardworking and dedicated member of our school community who plays a vital role in keeping our campus safe, clean, and welcoming for everyone who walks through our doors. Gage approaches his work with a consistently positive attitude, even during busy or stressful times. He is always approachable, friendly, and ready to help no matter the situation. Staff often share how kind and understanding he is in the middle of the school day, whether that means stepping into an office filled with toys while a parent phone call is happening, or quietly making sure the space is ready for another busy day ahead. His attention to detail and care in ensuring classrooms and offices are not only clean, but properly sanitized, does not go unnoticed and is deeply appreciated. In the evenings, Gage does an excellent job ensuring our campus is well cared for and prepared for the next day. He is consistently on site to support after-school programs and community partners, offering reliable support and a welcoming presence. His commitment goes far above the basics of the job and reflects how much pride he takes in our campus. What truly sets Gage apart is his dedication to the people he serves. He builds positive relationships with staff and students and genuinely cares about creating an environment that feels safe, inviting, and supported. Our school is better because of his hard work, kindness, and dependability. Gage truly shines in all that he does, and we are incredibly grateful for his dedication and service. He is a deserving recipient of the Shining Star Award, and our campus is fortunate to have him.
Good job, thank you.
Congratulations, thank you.
Would you like to say something?
Thank you for the award. I appreciate it. Makes me feel good that my hard work isn't going unnoticed. Too many years. Thank you.
All right, and our next Shining Star Award recipient is Leslie Mundo. It is our pleasure to nominate Leslie Mundo for the Shining Star Award. Leslie is a morning aide in the Forest Preschool classroom at Madison Camelview. While she has experience as an afternoon aide, she is newer to the morning aide position. She was willing to jump in mid-year after the previous morning aide resigned, which can mean a steep learning curve. Leslie not only displays grace and maturity when receiving constructive feedback, she actively seeks it out from both department mentors and from our smart support advisors. In these ways, she truly exemplifies a growth mindset, one of Madison's guiding principles. The words of her coworkers speak volumes. One teacher writes, "Miss Mundo possesses a rare, intuitive heart for children, often noticing a student's unspoken need or a quiet moment of struggle before anyone else does. Her presence creates a safe space where our students feel seen, cherished, and ready to learn. She is more than just an assistant. She is a pillar of warmth in our classroom. The way she handles even the most challenging mornings with patience and a gentle smile is a testament to her genuine love for every child in our program. She doesn't just complete the tasks assigned to her, she anticipates the needs of the classroom every day. Her above and beyond isn't an occasional effort either. It is her daily standard. She approaches every day with a learner's mindset, consistently evolving her techniques to meet the diverse needs of our class, all while learning what an inclusive preschool looks like. Her dedication to professional development is matched only by her passion for the children themselves, and I have been so lucky to have watched her flourish after so many years now." Another teacher shares, "Miss Mundo is truly deserving of the Shining Star Award. She is consistently attentive to the needs of the students in her classroom and demonstrates a thoughtful, student-centered approach in all that she does. She actively seeks feedback and implements it with fidelity, reflecting both professionalism and a genuine commitment to growth. Mundo has built strong, positive rapport with families, students, and colleagues alike. She approaches her responsibilities with care and integrity, and her positive energy makes her a valued member of the morning team. We are fortunate to have her, and she absolutely shines in her role. It is for these qualities and her ongoing commitment to growing her own practice that we are thrilled to recommend Leslie for this award, and we can't wait to see what the future brings for her as she continues to strive for excellence."
Congratulations. Thank you so much.
Congratulations. I want to be in your class.
You don't have to hide. Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Would you like to say anything?
I want to say thank you to my mom, my siblings, and my friends who are here. And a big thank you to Miss Monica, who's been my mentor, and then Julia, Miss Keisha, Miss Rachel in the back, and the community ed. Thank you so much.
Congratulations to all of our amazing awardees. This is the time of the meeting where we say thank you for coming, but you are not under any obligation to continue to stay if you need to go. All right. We are moving along to item number 4.2, Superintendent Report. Dr. Guerin.
President Kazi, members of the board, cabinet, and guests. I just love those awards because we have so many special employees working for kids, and it just reminds us of all the special people and what they do every single day. Always warms my heart. Well, good evening, everyone. Cabinet began our day very early this morning on a high note as Chef Alfonso and the cabinet served a delicious breakfast for the Rose Lane staff. This was a small token of our immense gratitude for the hard work in achieving an A label and for their unwavering commitment to student success. I want to share a few highlights of Rose Lane's achievement. When compared to schools serving similar student populations, Rose Lane is performing well above expectations, particularly in mathematics and elementary outcomes. A vital driver of this improvement has been their significant success in reducing chronic absenteeism, which has been a campus-wide focus. Please join me in saying congratulations, Rose Lane. As we look toward the end of the academic year, we are also preparing for a few leadership transitions. As many of you know, Ella Conroy will be retiring at the conclusion of this school year. Ella is the Director of Finance. We look forward to celebrating her many years of dedicated service to our district later this spring. In light of this transition, I'm excited to announce that our own Keisha Brang has been recommended to serve as our new Director of Finance. We're so grateful to Community Ed for sharing her in this way. Yeah. I know. We will seek your approval of this recommendation tonight. Additionally, as shared in previous communication, Madison Traditional Academy Principal Chris Merrill has announced his retirement. We want to express our deepest gratitude to Mr. Merrill for his career-long service to the Madison community. We wish him the very best and look forward to formally recognizing him along with our other retirees this spring. Both retired principal Rose Devine and Director of Signature Programming Casey George will be supporting MTA alongside Assistant Principal Smith in the interim. To lead Madison Traditional Academy into its next chapter, I am proud to recommend Ms. Brooke Sachak to the governing board as MTA's new principal. Ms. Sachak is a relational leader with an extensive instructional background. She currently serves as an assistant principal in Casa Grande and brings a wealth of experience as a former MTSS coordinator, district instructional specialist, academic coach, and veteran classroom teacher. We are confident her expertise will be a tremendous asset to the community, MTA community. Pending your approval, both Keisha and Brooke will be invited to our March meeting to meet and be celebrated. Finally, on a more personal note, as part of our recruitment and retentions incentives, Madison employees have the opportunity to continue working after retiring from the Arizona State retirement system. It is hard for me to believe that I have reached 33 years in the system, especially because I'm only 29. But pending your approval tonight, I intend to exercise this option. I want to assure you that my transition will be seamless. I am truly grateful for your support and am deeply looking forward to continuing to serve this district without missing a day for many years to come. Spring break is just around the corner if everyone hadn't noticed. I want to wish students, family, and staff a restful spring break filled with the things that make you happy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Guerin. Moving along to item 4.3, Governing Board Member Reports. Mr. Hunt.
Yes. So first, I want to say congratulations to Ms. Breiling. Really excited to have you staying with the district in a really important position, incredibly critical position for the district. And anyway, was thrilled at the news. To Mr. Merrill, I'm a 12-year MTA parent, and Mr. Merrill has been a great, consistent leader at the school. I want to thank him for his service to MTA, service to education and to the community, and really excited for the new principal, Ms. Sachak, to come and lead MTA. Finally, happy birthday to President Kazi, and that's all I have to say. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Hunt. Ms. Gresham, would you like to present a report?
I'm up, thank you. Yes, all the congratulations. Congratulations to Rose Lane and Mr. Reyes. That's a great honor, and they have a good great thing going there. And congratulations to Ms. Brayling and Mr. Merrill on his retirement, and Dr. Gerens, although I want to make it clear, if she didn't already, that she's not going anywhere. She's not retiring, she's not leaving. So she's just, doing some administrative stuff. So let's see. I was at the city councilman, Councilman Robinson had a coffee chat at Madison Heights last night, so I was able to go to that. So that was nice to see all our different community members there. There was a lot of trash talk, literally like the city of Phoenix trash pickup was there to talk about things. So we actually literally, it was like recycling and trash and stuff. But a lot of other community concerns and things came up, so I was glad I could be there for that. And of course, happy birthday, and thank you for being here on your birthday. We do have the gala coming up, the foundation gala, so make sure you spread the word about that, get your tickets, and hopefully everyone can come to that and celebrate. It's always a lot of fun. They do a great job. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gresham. Mr. Holcomb, do you have a report?
Thank you. I'm happy that I'm sad that you're retiring, happy that you're staying. I wish Chris Merrill the best. I mean, he's been a long time before even MTA. He served a number of the schools in the district with dedication and actually joy. I mean, he has a winning smile that'll be missed. But I'm glad we have it in good hands. And I also wanted to mention the process we went through to picking the new principal. Madison attracts very high caliber people to come here, moving, and that was demonstrated, I think, through the whole process and the compliments that we got on how that was being handled. I also wanted to sing the praises of Keisha. At least she got you to smile. I sing with her kids and the barbershop chorus that we have. So I get to see her quite a bit. We had the PTO lunch yesterday. And again, we've talked about it many times, but I'm always impressed and really warms my heart at the way that the PTOs work together. I mean, they're working really hard for their own schools, but they really come together as a whole group to help each other. And that's unusual in school districts. And it's a big plus for us. And at the gala, it's Denim and Diamonds, and it's going to be something different this year, very different. Instead of being in the lobby, it's going to be in the back part. We're going to have a saloon set up back there. No alcohol, obviously. Well, yeah, there will. Yeah. But we'll set it up there, and we're going to be using the stage as a dance floor. And if you've never been on that stage, it has a unique and specially made dance floor built in. So it should be a great evening. And happy birthday. Welcome to becoming old.
Thank you, Mr. Holcomb. Well, the alternative is not so great, so I'll take this. I just want to reiterate all the congratulatory comments made. Obviously, we're thrilled to see some movement. I think that what I love in Madison is that we promote of our own many times, and seeing that you moved to that position, I think we're all thrilled about. I'm sure community ed has a different opinion about that, but we don't talk about those things. And then also congratulations to also our new staff members. I do want to mention really quickly, we have Madison advocates with us here tonight, and I want to just to those listening and those in the audience, this is an important year to engage with the legislature. As an election year, it tends to be a year where they maybe are more willing to listen to what we have to say. There's some very important legislation that will have real and significant impacts on Madison, on our students, and on the future of our communities. I think that's not an understatement by any measure. So if you can take the time to engage with Madison advocates, to learn the work that they're doing, to engage when they ask you to in contacting legislators, in sharing your perspectives, this is a year that it's critical in many different ways. And that's all I have. Moving along to the consent agenda. I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda unless we need to pull anything off of it.
Approve the consent agenda as
Sec-
presented.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented. Please vote. Motion carries. Next is the call to the public. I do not have my script for the call to the public.
I'm sorry. would
That's
you like me to
okay.
Grab that.
Do we have any calls to the public?
Do not have any calls.
So we do not have any calls to the public, so I will not be reading the script that we generally, it's basically the statute that gives us the authority to have calls to the public and the basic rules associated with that. So you get to miss that, lucky you. Moving along to item number 7, board policies, second read. Accepted ASB changes. I assume this is all Mr. Thompson.
Second read, not really much else to say, so unless there are any questions, I'd be happy to address those.
Thank you. Are there any
This is your last chance to go through reading them. I mean, you can let that pass you by.
I appreciate that very much. I really do.
Mr. Thompson, are we taking all 3 of these en masse, or are we voting on them individually?
I think you have to do them individually.
Okay. All right, on items under 7.1, are there any questions or comments before we entertain a motion? I will entertain a motion to accept the policies as presented.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
Is moved and seconded to accept ASBA changes to policies as presented. Please vote.
I'm going to give a voice vote because I'm still logging in. I vote aye.
Thank you, Ms. Thompson. That motion carries. Mr. Thompson, do you have anything you want to add to items number 7.2?
No, just a reminder, these are a few that we needed to tweak to be Madison appropriate. Other than that, nothing else.
Are there any questions or comments on items in number 7.2? If not, I'll entertain a motion to accept all the policies under 7.2 as presented.
So moved.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to accept ASBA changes to policies with Madison modifications. Please vote.
The program doesn't like me. I vote aye.
So sorry, Ms. Thompson. It's a little cranky. Maybe it knows that we're abandoning it. I don't know. And the motion carries. Moving along to item 7.3, Mr. Thompson, anything you want to add to this one?
Madam President, as presented before, these are policies that we either have already adopted or find unnecessary to adopt the current changes proposed by ASBA at this time.
All right, the motion for these items is to decline to adopt ASBA suggested changes to policies as listed in the agenda as presented. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve item 7.3.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to decline to adopt, so counterintuitive, ASBA suggested changes to policies identified in the agenda as presented. Please vote.
Still doesn't like me. I vote aye.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And that motion carries. All right, well, we're going to move along to item number 8, information items on the agenda. Legislative update, Dr. Guerin.
President Kazi, Vice President Hunt, members of the board, cabinet, and guests. Madison has had a long time partnership with Madison Advocates. These are parents and community members that are looking out for the district and for public education as a whole, educating themselves and educating others on impactful legislation, as Ms. Causey mentioned. We are in the heart of the legislative session with many changes happening, with over 4,000 bills introduced this session, so it is a quite active session, as you mentioned, an election year. So we are very lucky that we have a presentation tonight by Jessica Catlett, who's going to come to the podium and share her latest on what we should be watching for and how it could impact us. So very much excited to hear about that. Thank you. And again, we are always recruiting. So if you are interested in just attending a meeting of the advocates to learn a little bit more, we'd love to have you.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board. Thank you for staying to hear this. We've got some good stuff to talk about tonight. My name is Jessica Catlett. I'm a member of Madison Advocates and a parent of a 6th grader at Meadows. Just a brief legislative update with crossover week. So this is the midpoint of the legislative session where bills move over to the other chamber of the legislature. If a bill hasn't passed out of the committee by this point, it's considered dead. So as Dr. Guerin said, there were 4,000 some bills introduced this year. It was record-breaking numbers. Of these, approximately 1,000 bills never got a hearing. I think that's the number, and won't be moving forward. We should know more in the coming week as to which bills are gaining traction on the other side and have a chance of being passed. One bill we are monitoring closely is HCR 2007, which is sponsored by Matt Gress. This was a last-minute strike everything amendment, which means that the original bill's language is deleted and new text is put in its place, sometimes at the last minute. This bill, HCR 2007, would require all public school districts to spend at least 60% of their operational spending on what's called direct instructional expenses, beginning in the 27-28 school year. Direct instructional expenses include classroom personnel, teachers, teachers' aides, substitute teachers, instructional supplies, instructional aides, certain types of tuition payments, field trips, athletics, and co-curricular activities. Any district that spends less than 60% on direct instructional expenses must increase the portion of their operational spending by 0.5% every year until they meet that threshold, until they're in compliance. If a district cannot meet this threshold, the state will withhold funding in an amount equal to the difference between the amount that the district was required to spend and the amount that the district actually spent on those expenses. This funding would be placed in an account that could only be used towards those types of instructional expenses. While this may sound fine in theory, the 60% threshold is unrealistic given our current funding levels. The definition of what constitutes a direct operational expense is very narrow. It excludes important categories of support that schools need and that we use for student success. Direct operational expenses do not include things like student supports, counselors, nurses, social workers, audiologists, speech pathologists, as I stumble over my own words, instructional supports like librarians, teacher training, curriculum development, media specialists, and special ed directors. Direct operational expenses do not include food service, transportation, operations like building maintenance, custodial service, groundskeeping, equipment repair, safety and security measures, and utilities. Also does not include costs that go towards administration. So principals, vice principals, accounting, clerical, attendance, HR, all of the other office functions that we need. So how does this affect Madison? Of its operational spending, the highest percentage Madison has had is 59.5% of all funds going towards direct instruction, and this was in 2004. The most recent report shows that Madison is at 49.6% of all funds going to direct instruction. So it has decreased by 10% in the past 20 years, and this is because there's been increased demands outside of those areas, and all of those things that we just talked about. Assistant principals, behavioral specialists, security, safety, all of the special needs of students that schools are required to accommodate for and take care of. So if this bill comes to pass, at this time, it's about $5 million that would need to be shifted towards direct instruction. This would come from cuts in areas that we depend on. We could see elimination of assistant principals, counselors, social workers, behavioral specialists, teacher mentors, a reduction in teacher training and curriculum development, elimination of librarians and media specialists, reduction in building staff, custodial services, security personnel, and nurses. So these are all things that make our district great, make any school great. This is HCR 2007 is a referendum, so the legislature is going to refer this measure to the ballot for a vote. If a similar striker amendment was introduced on the Senate side, so that just shows us that this bill is being fast-tracked towards the ballot in this November's election. So if this bill moves forward, advocates will be working to educate our community members, because like I said, it sounds okay on its face. Everyone, of course, you want to spend more money in the classroom, but that's just not the reality of how the budget operates. So the second piece of what I wanted to talk about.
Just interrupt, I think it's important. The reason they do that is that it doesn't have to go to the governor. And so you do not have the protection of a governor's veto on that.
That's right. That's right. Any other comments on HCR 2007 before I go on?
Oh, lots of
we've got
comments.
comments.
Maybe you finish.
Yeah, why don't you finish and then we'll
that.
And then we'll circle back. Okay. The second piece of what I wanted to talk about tonight is an update on Arizona's Empowerment Scholarship Account, or ESA program. So as of a few days ago, February 23rd, 101,610 Arizona children are using ESA vouchers. And the program will cost Arizona over $1 billion this fiscal year. Earlier this month, the Arizona Education Association and Save Our Schools group filed the Protect Education Accountability Now initiative. This is an effort to reform parts of the ESA system and to introduce transparency, oversight, and accountability into the current system. So what does the initiative include? So there's several parts I'll just give you highlights of. First, the initiative would require public schools that receive ESA money to comply with certain regulations that public schools comply with. For example, the initiative would require safety measures such as background checks for employees, site safety regulation like food safety and sanitation rules, and a requirement to investigate allegations of misconduct. So it's pretty common sense stuff to ensure a minimum level of quality in these schools. The initiative also includes academic standards for private schools who take ESA dollars. Students would be required to take similar assessments as public school students, or the school would need to be accredited by a nationally recognized accrediting organization. Secondly, the initiative bans the use of ESA voucher funds for non-educational and luxury items. So this is technically a part of the current system, but the current process is unchecked, and so we've seen countless examples of abuses. Currently, any expenditure under $2,000 gets automatically approved. A recent release of public records relating to an internal Department of Ed audit revealed that 1 in every 5 purchases in their audit sample size was deemed unallowable. The audit reviewed 385,000 ESA purchases in a 9-month period. It's a lot. And they found 84,000 purchases of prohibited items. ESA funds were used towards things like gift cards, kitchen appliances, phones, fitness equipment, jewelry, maternity clothes, lingerie, and vacations.
So not classroom expenses.
Not
just to be clear.
classroom expenses, and that's correct. Mm-hmm. So that's part of what the initiative would try to beef up, not just have a rule, but actually have teeth to it, and to be able to prevent these from occurring in the first place. The third piece of the initiative is that beginning with the 2027-28 school year, there would be an income cap for families of universal ESA students of at or below $150,000, which would be adjusted annually for inflation. So this cap would not apply to students with disabilities as under the former voucher system. Fourth, the initiative would require all ESA funds to be used in the current school year or else be returned. This would prohibit the stockpiling of ESA funds in private savings accounts. Currently, there's an estimated $440 million in unused funds just sitting in private accounts with no deadline in which to use them. So theoretically, a family could continue saving ESA dollars indefinitely and not use them for education expenses.
They can also use them for college tuition.
Correct. So finally, the initiative would require certain reporting to the Attorney General to prevent fraud and ensure proper use of taxpayer dollars, and these reports would be made available on the Department of Ed's website. So the initiative is currently being reviewed by the Legislative Council. I believe they have until March 8th to conclude their review, and then the signature process starts. The initiative needs 255,000 signatures by July 2nd in order to be on the ballot, so stay tuned on this. So with that, if you have comments or questions, I'm finished with my prepared remarks.
Thank you so much. Ms. Gresham.
Okay, I will go first. Thank you. Thank you for being here, and thank you for stepping up to be on the advocates. We appreciate that. And thank you. I kept writing down points to make, and then you would make them. So I'm like, oh, she covered that. She covered that. Yes, I just want to reiterate that this direct instructional expense is an old, out-of-date term that, it includes athletics and extracurriculars, but not other things that are obviously necessary for instruction. So it makes no sense to me. And Ms. Thompson made the comment about, that rule does not apply to vouchers or, any other. Can you actually answer this question? Is that HCR does that apply to charter schools as well, charter districts, or only public school districts?
I don't know for sure. I believe it's public school districts. But
Ms. Kazi is affirming that yes, it does not apply to charters either. So only, or vouchers. So only public schools who, yes, if we had the funding, we would obviously be more than happy to do that. I also thank you for pointing out that the new initiative for the ESAs does protect the original users of ESA vouchers, which students that really need them. And actually, if we did have all the funding we needed in public schools, we wouldn't need those either, because we could serve everyone that came to us. My last comment / question is, how can people connect with or hear from the Madison Advocates? I know there used to be an email list that went out, or social media. How can they find out about what you guys are doing or how to join? I would love it, because a lot of people hear from us when it's time for a bond and override or something, but I want to make sure people know you guys are not just there when we are asking for more money. So how can they connect with you guys? I'm sure families that have also left the district and moved on would also still be interested.
So that is something we've been working on. So we've been attending some of the PTO meetings this year just to make face-to-face connections. We do when parents age out, or I guess their kids age out, there is some growth that's happening. So we do need to beef up our social media presence. That's all on our to-do list for the advocates. We're a group of 3 right now. And so social media would be one easy way to do it. It comes directly to me, but that's something we're going to be working on. And with the movement of these types of bills and the initiative, we'll be getting the word out.
Absolutely. So. Thank you. Yeah, the more people can mobilize, the better. And just another reason that we're recruiting, and we would love more people to join to help them out. So thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Gresham. Mrs. Thompson?
I'm so angry. I don't know if I have words that can express how frustrating this is. First of all, this type of strike everything amendment, it seems to me, is a thinly veiled attempt to put something on the ballot to compete with another education initiative to make it more challenging for people to understand. To have these potential rules only apply to our public schools when we have a broad array of choice in this state is, to say it's ridiculous is to compliment it. So I don't even know how to frame it. What's good for the goose should be good for the gander. We've worked for years with charter schools to say that charters were setting an example, and then those examples could be adopted by public schools, which hasn't been allowed over time. And to put something like this on the ballot it's legislative malpractice. It's so disappointing, especially from a former member of this board. That's all I have to say.
Mr. Holcomb.
Yeah. All of that is disappointing, but unfortunately, it's not unexpected. I mean, it's been trying it, and I think it's something we have to really go at more the core of the culture that's doing it, is making it, the overall approach seems to be make it less desirable and more difficult for public schools to get teachers to be able to provide the services that they need to excel, and just make it and say, oh, by the way, and then schools don't work. The thing that always hit me is it's like saying, okay, you've got this car, the car doesn't work. Well, you're not putting any fuel in it. You're not allowing the money to maintain it. There are things that have to happen besides having teachers in a classroom so that those teachers can be effective and the kids can learn. And the refusal to do that. But on top of that, making it even more difficult for professionals, people who want to do that, to be able to go in and do what they want to do, what they love to do. And that's what really upsets me. It's, we have these specific things, but they're each one another slice in this cut, 1,000 cuts that keep picking it up. And one of the things, and I apologize, I just was following it, and I don't know if it's gotten out of committee, on the eliminating the vaccines. That is one that strikes me as, that is really a death kill for a lot of public schools, and that too, because one of the things that you have a number of students and parents who will not send their kids into a measles factory or will be concerned about their kids. And one of the things that public schools do have, because we have that, is we can say we provide a safe and healthy environment because of the vaccine, but eliminating the vaccine. And again, this thing, they say, well, it's personal right. It is not a question of personal rights or personal choice. It's an issue of the social contract that we have in the public schools. And the social contract that we have with our government, and our communities, and most particularly with our schools, that's what's being eroded. It's the basic social contract that's under attack, and that's what we need to fight back against. I'm sorry I'm on my soapbox, but I've seen it going over for such a long period of time, and it's always these death cuts, and it's manipulation, because if you go to the populace, the public doesn't want this. Mm-hmm. I mean, same thing, they didn't want the vouchers and voted against it. There's all kinds of these things that are going through that are against what the public wants, and it hurts the public. And again, I think we are destroying bit by bit, and now more at an accelerated stage, the social contract that's necessary for all of us.
Thank you, Mr. Holcomb. I just have some questions. So in your presentation, you stated that the last time we were pretty much at 60% was 2004, which was probably a time when we were better funded by the legislature. Then the Great Recession happened, and we've been starved since then. And we're now about 10% from the 60%. Is that correct? And what the data you shared? Mm-hmm. And we've seen increased costs that have been legislated to us by the state, by the legislature, and that involve, and the federal government to some degree, that involve costs associated with school safety, probably students with disabilities, things like that. Is that correct? A correct assumption?
That's my understanding. I think you would know more than me on the actual numbers.
President Kazai.
Thank you.
I think it's important to, you're highlighting something I think that we should bring up about this as well. This calculation that the Auditor General does is all funds. And so you could imagine a situation where if this were to take effect, we would have to make a decision about a safety grant, which is not instruction direct, right? Because it would take away from the percentage of dollars we're spending in the classroom. So some of this is driven by grants that are specifically designed for non-instructional support, non-direct instruction. So it might be teacher training, it might be safety, it might be all kinds of emotional support for kids and things like that. We'd have to make decisions now about whether to even pursue those in light of the fact that that would potentially hurt our percentage calculation, because all funds are included, and that's not just our operating funds.
Absolutely, but conversely, the legislature is requiring us to have a safety plan,
Right.
correct?
Yeah.
And so they are taking, I mean, they are causing some of the problems for why we are not at that 60, well, I'd say probably most of the problems for why we're not at that 60% threshold. And yet, there seems to be no interest from the legislature in helping to solve those problems, rather just to create them and then penalize us when we no longer meet that threshold. Is that a fair, is that?
Absolutely, absolutely, yes, this would penalize us for not meeting an arbitrary threshold. And again, it is not a function of everything that the district spends its money on is critical for students and critical for our staff. But at the end of the day, when you have limited resources, you have to make difficult decisions, right? So this has been a steady decline throughout the state from, Madison's not the only district, let's be very clear, that has decreased in the direct instruction because of all the other demands that are coming upon us as traditional school districts. And so, again, it is, don't put some gas in the car and then tell everybody that they failed because they didn't drive anywhere. Very good analogy.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Any additional? Dr. Guerin.
Mr. Thompson, I think it's very interesting, the comments you made about the newer definition of direct in classroom, that it's been more encompassing lately with social workers. If you could comment on that.
Yes, so if you actually look at the report that's currently published by the Auditor General, there was a few years ago, districts kind of said, hey, this instructional only conversation really doesn't encompass all we're dealing with. And so their report really looks at classroom dollars as instruction, instructional support, and student support. And so that puts us more in the 70% category. So you're spending the majority of your funds on students in some way. Maybe it's not direct in the classroom, but we all know that the quality of the teaching environment matters, and the working conditions for our teachers matter. So support for those teachers matters, right? And so districts fought years ago. One, we've been asking for years for this to be applied to charter schools, and that's never gone anywhere. But two, could we expand the definition, which was expanded? And as you see throughout the state, including here at Madison, that percentage has stayed pretty consistent over those 20-year periods. What we've seen is that shift underneath, and that shift underneath has become, it's obvious why that shift is happening if you think about it. Instructional support, student support, special ed needs, all the counseling, the social behavior issues, the security issues, all the things that she talked about in the definition. So districts have not walked away from the classroom. We've had to shift how we support the classroom and how we address the needs of our teachers and our staff. So it would be nice, if we were talking about that, we wouldn't even be having this initiative, because we're all way over 60% as we speak.
So, Mr. Thompson, you're saying that if we were using the Auditor General definition,
current definition of classroom dollars, yes,
we would be at 70%.
Yeah. But the HCR 2007 clearly says direct instruction. So I think it's clearly intended to be the old definition, which was instruction only and doesn't incorporate instructional support or student support.
Thank you. Any additional comments?
Last,
Mrs. Gresham.
do we have more? Sorry. Yes, so I just wanted to point out, because this is one of my favorite things to point out, is that our administrative costs, Arizona public schools have the lowest administrative costs because of lack of funding, but also, so that forces us to be really lean. And this myth that public schools are just spending way too much on administrative costs is a total myth and a lie. And I just always want to point that out, because charter schools are much higher. Obviously, private schools and ESAs, we don't even know, because we don't even know what they're using that money for. So I just want to point that out, that our costs are already extremely, extremely low, and most of our money, as Mr. Thompson pointed out, already goes to instruction. So thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Gresham. Mr. Holcomb.
Yeah, and the utilities just gets me. You can't teach kids if you don't have the electricity on and you don't have air conditioning. But that's, historically, that is one of the first things that they really started tearing apart. We used to have excess utilities. It was called excess utilities. So utilities were dealt with separately, because everybody recognized then that that had to be done. You know, you have to have the utilities. Well, this is part of the game, because it was, oh, that's excess utilities, so that's excess dollars. And we eliminate them. And it was, no, they're not excess. They were put there because they were understood that no matter what you're doing, you have to pay those. But they put that in, and now this is just a continuation of that, and it really bothers me. I did have one other question about too, is about the 1, 2, 3 funding.
Oh,
And there's no, well, but I've heard that
I do have,
I mean, and maybe I'm wrong, but I've heard that part of what's happening is 1, 2, 3 is being held up unless there's an agreement that we put ESAs into the Constitution, so you cannot get rid of them on anything. And they're totally unrelated issues, but that is the game that's being played. Am I correct?
so I didn't address it in my original remarks because there's not really much of an update to give on the Prop 123, other than 2 Senate Republican proposals made it through committee just for sake of keeping it alive at this time, but the conversations have stalled. So there was a news article, it was either from yesterday or the day before, where J.D. Mesner said that the initiative complicates the discussion of 1, 2, 3. And there hasn't been any action on the House side. So it's out there, but there's no movement on it. And that's all I have on that. There's not much to report, unfortunately. So,
And I would just add that that was where I really wish we'd stop calling it Prop 123, because none of this actually looks anything like Prop 123 anymore. Any of this conversation, ESAs, paying teachers directly, all of this is all a new, it's really a discussion on how we might leverage the state land trust dollars that are intended for education. We should just say what it is, right?
And that's embedded in our state constitution.
And that's in our constitution. It's protected, and it's money intended for education. So there's a good reason to have this conversation. But the idea of the giving more money to public schools, but kind of protecting the ESA voucher system in the Constitution is where it failed last year. It's a continuing conversation, but there is no specific. It will probably come to a head again in a budget discussion, as it kind of did last year, and we'll see. But right now, there have been a few folks stand up and say this needs to be a clean initiative and not complicated with. And actually, by law, they can't complicate it because it's supposed to be a single subject. And so you can't have ESAs and funding teacher salaries or whatever else you want to do with the trust land money all in the same initiative. Now, some folks have legally think they can get around that, but that still seems to be the sticking point at this point.
Mrs. Thompson.
Just a quick follow-up question, because you said something, Mr. Thompson, that I think is incredibly important. The proposal is in regards to 60% of all funds budget. So that would be federal funding, grant funding, state funding, everything else.
I don't think that's understood by the folks who wrote it, but yes, if you
Well,
look at
that's not surprising.
if you look at the way the Auditor General does this report, there are a few exceptions. Debt service doesn't count, obviously, but all of our funds are in this it's not just the maintenance and operation fund. It's not just our capital fund. It's not. I tend to focus on those when I talk to you about these things because those are the funds you really control. Like, again, you're not going to say no to a safety grant that's good for the school district, good for our children, and helps protect them. But these are the kind of decisions that this initiative could bring into question.
But it could put into peril safety grants,
Yes.
people we hire at the demand of our parents and families to support student safety, to support other needs of students, to, I think of food service programs. If there were extra dollars that were put in to pay for meals, that would be a expenditure that would go up in all funds that wouldn't be classroom funding. Or if, as Mr. Holcomb said, the utility rates went up by 5 or 10 or 14%, that would mean a cut in something else in order to maintain classroom spending, because you can't just turn off the lights in order to do that. Is that accurate? Is that an accurate assessment according to your reading of the proposed legislation?
Yes, and I would add that this is a complete shot at local control. You already have transparency. There's a report. It's been around for over 20 years. You have budget reports. I have information I bring to you on a regular basis. If our community was dissatisfied with how we were spending our money, I'm sure we'd be hearing about it. If they were dissatisfied with what's happening in their classrooms, I'm sure we would be hearing about it. So this arbitrary idea that somehow 60% is just going to magically improve education has been out there a very long time. It's a very popular political stump speech because it sounds good, right? But it doesn't take into reality all of the factors, not only of what we can control, but of the factors that we can't control, which are funds that may come to us that don't directly address the classroom.
Would in your reading of the legislation or in the narrow definition of classroom spending, are some of the employee benefits that are provided, are those counted toward classroom spending or not?
Yes, anybody who is direct instruction, that the benefits follow from an accounting perspective. So
Okay.
if you're a teacher receiving benefits that we pay for, then that would follow in that expenditure, yes.
But the HR department that supports that would not,
No,
or
they're
the
part-
audit department and
They're
finance
part of the
department
problem
would
in this
not.
bill, yes.
Got it.
Very clearly, we're not supposed to have any kind of administration. We're not supposed to have any kind of support for the classroom. We're just supposed to pay teachers and hope everything works out.
I apologize. One thing that you said too that really struck me, because that was a fight for a number of years at this dais, is that, did I hear you say correctly, that teacher training is not considered direct? So we.
No, that would be instructional
Any
support.
money we'd use to train our teachers
Yeah.
is not helping with direct instruction.
Maybe they'll get a tax break to pay for that themselves instead.
Yeah.
And that's why I said working conditions, right? No aides in the classroom. I mean, aides do count, but it would be hard to have any other kind of support for that classroom outside of maybe an instructional aide. And you certainly wouldn't have any PD. You wouldn't have any teacher mentors. You wouldn't have anything that is used to support the daily activities of what's going on in the school and what's going on in the classroom. Most of that would have to be stripped away.
Thank you, everyone, for this robust conversation. Thank you so much for your presentation. It was incredibly thorough and obviously led to a lot of conversation.
Well, and what I'm hearing from you all is how important this bill is. We will get it out to our members. They'll know how to contact us. We will, you'll be hearing from us. Our community will be hearing from us. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to come here today. So
Thank you so much.
and happy birthday.
Thank you.
While she sits down, I want to point to Mr. Holcomb's point about the electricity. APS has asked for another increase on schools in particular, of 14%. So we would just automatically be having to pay that much more, but that would not count towards this expense. So.
Thank you, Mrs. Gresham. All right, moving on to information item number 8.2, co-teaching in preschool. Dr. Guerin, I assume you're introducing this.
President Kazi, I think we need a little sunshine. And what better way than to talk about the innovative programming that is happening in our Madison preschools. I'm very excited to turn it over to Deputy Superintendent Barb Marshall.
Thank you, President Kazi, members of the board, members of cabinet. How fitting that we began tonight with the school showcase from our preschools. And what you saw is that each of our 5 preschool locations has taken on the signature program of the school that it serves. Also, when we moved to the ruler program, the preschool also said we need this, not just in preschool, but also in our before and after school MAC program. And when the science of reading came out, again, preschool said, hey, there's a preschool version. Let's take a look at this and how it can help. So it's no surprise that when we move to a co-teaching model to serve our students that receive resource support, that preschool again stepped up and said, hey, we want to be doing this as well. And so tonight we want to showcase that evolution into bringing co-teaching to our preschool classrooms. And I turn it over to our current Director of Community Education, Keisha Breiling.
Thank you. Whew, deep breaths. That was fun. Thank you for your service. That is a lot of work, and we appreciate everything that Advocates is doing. So I will try my best to insert some sunshine. So Madam President, members of the Governing Board, Dr. Guerin, and guests, thank you for the opportunity to update you on preschool inclusion. And I wanted to thank my team for hanging out. We've had a bit of a roller coaster week in community ed, and the fact that they're all still here really means a lot. So. Always want to start with our purpose statement in community ed of providing quality programs for students and families by growing and mentoring passionate staff, empowered students, and engaged families to connect with each other and become contributing members of our community. When we talk about preschool inclusion, we just felt this matched the trifecta of empowering our kids, engaging and helping our passionate staff, and really engaging our students. So this was something that we felt was a really natural fit into what we already do in community ed, and wanted to find a way to incorporate that into inclusion. So why inclusion? We know, as again, K-8 in Madison has set a great example for us in that students with disabilities that are educated in those inclusive settings have improved academic, social, emotional, and behavioral outcomes. Research has proven that again and again, and I would say even has greater improved outcomes in those early childhood years. They report a greater sense of belonging and are more likely to make friends. There is nothing more heartwarming than watching a student that has some needs in a preschool classroom with their typical peers that are just adopted and just, come on, and we're going to do this together. It is really sweet. There's benefits for both the students with disabilities and the gen ed kids. All of our students benefit from this program. And then kind of counterintuitive to some things is that students that have the more complicated support needs often have greater gains in the growth that they need when they have those inclusive type settings. We just also know this is important. It's a district, something that the district has adopted. This is where we're going, K-8, and we wanted to support that in preschool. And again, in the greater, there's not an inclusive Starbucks or an inclusive grocery store or an inclusive, workplace. We hope that we all have those things, but what a better opportunity to get our kiddos ready for the things that we have. So how did we get here? Prior to the 24-25 school year, we had the developmental preschool had 3 self-contained classrooms up at Madison Heights, and it was housed in the student services department. Once new legislation came out, we knew that this was a place we had to go, and we knew it was what was best for kids. We trialed something 24-25 school year where the director of student services and myself got together, and we split supervision between a couple of the specialized classroom at Heights, and then we had one co-taught classroom at Heights where we had a full-time special ed resource preschool teacher, a full-time community ed preschool teacher, and the 2 of them were in a classroom with students all day. And then due to caseloads, we were able to then hire an itinerant that split between a couple of the other campuses. That was a very eye-opening year. We learned a lot of things on how to support students and support our staff, and that led into where we are for 25-26. So what we did going into this school year is we collapsed the 2 specialized classrooms that were up at Heights, and we moved them down to one that is now located at our Madison Camelview campus. We added 2 more classrooms across more sites. So our goal was to get these students as close to their neighborhood school as possible. So back in 24, 25, regardless of your home school, if you had a need for an IEP in preschool, you had to go to Heights. Now we have 2 classrooms at Camelview of co-taught classrooms, 2 classrooms at Simus, 2 classrooms at Rosalane, in addition to the 1 specialized classroom up at Camelview. So in a goal to still be efficient with our staffing, but get students as close to their home campuses as possible. This year, we changed the supervision of all of the preschool staff to community education. So we moved the early childhood resource teachers and the paraprofessionals over to community ed. We are firm believers that preschool is preschool, and we are a team. And we just found last year that it got really muddy with, okay, who does this and who does that, and where do we get support, and who do we ask for resources? And because this so strongly aligned with what we were doing in community ed, we moved those over and have made that transition this school year. And then we've been implementing co-planning meetings and training. You don't put 2 adults in a classroom where you don't need some time to talk about what's going on in the classroom. And so we've, again, modeled the K-8 model and adjusted it just a little bit for preschool to make the best use of our time. As with anything, we've had some challenges. We've had some speed bumps. It's new. Change is hard. We moved staff. We told them to go to different campuses. We told them they had different expectations. We told them they had different schedules. We told parents they had different schedules. So just kind of navigating that transition. We've been doing a lot of talking. We've been doing a lot of listening. We've been getting into classrooms. I have an amazing team that looks and gets in and gets their hands dirty and is able to support our team. We were lacking some general knowledge on both sides of the house. So when we talk about our SPED team, previously our developmental preschools were not licensed by the state of Arizona. They weren't overseen by Quality First. So when we talk about those rigorous expectations that we have from a licensing and a Quality First perspective in the community ed classrooms, they didn't abide by those same rules because they were managed by ADE instead of by DHS. So they've been doing a steep learning curve on, yes, it really takes 9 steps to wash your hands in preschool, and we do it about 18 times a day. So they're learning those things, and they have done a great job. 4 of our 5 campuses are up for Quality First assessment this year, so it has really been a heavy lift on that team to make sure that we are there and ready to go. And then for the community ed team, we've not done a lot with IEPs and accommodations. So when we talk about how we read goals, how we write goals, how we track data for goals, how we have the IEP and the MET meetings, all of our general education teachers in those co-teaching classrooms have had a heavy lift on learning those things. I will say the entire team on both sides has really just dug in. And what do we need to know? And let's ask questions. They're working really well together. So we have a resource teacher at each elementary, or at those 3 elementary campuses, and then the 2 co-teachers. And so we're all asking questions and learning a lot along the way. One thing that was a little surprising or maybe unexpected for me, this consistent, unpredictable change. So in my almost 20 years in community ed now, we set our rosters at the beginning of the year. We enroll, parents register, here's your classroom for list for the year, and short of the one kid that may move in or out during the year, that's your class. Students and just how we have to evaluate students and track their needs, the transition with students that have IEPs is far greater than I expected. And so, as does not surprise you when you get a room of 23-year-olds together, consistency is really critical to the success of the classroom. And then when you throw in a new kid on Tuesday, and then next Monday you throw in a new kid, and then this kid leaves on Thursday, it's just caused some added stresses. And so we're trying to navigate what systems can we set in place, what things can we talk about with our kids, are there different routines that we can set so that we can mitigate the change to the entire environment while still getting these students the services that they need as soon as possible in a classroom that best suits their needs. And then lastly, scheduling has been a little bit of a challenge. So our preschool teachers typically work 7:30 to 3:30. We're having to overlay special education resource teachers that are 7:30 to 2:30 or 3, depending on how those how their schedules work. And then when we start talking about evaluations and IEP meetings, you also have to lay over the schedule of the school psychologist and the OT and the speech path, and they're also serving the K-4 campus. And how does that look when our gen ed teacher can only get pulled out of the classroom from 1 to 3 during nap time? because they're servicing kids during the other times. And so we're kind of navigating what that looks like, because it does take quite a bit of time to take a student through that process. And then one of the other things when we start looking at that schedule is less than half of the students that are referred to us through Child Find that we go through and find eligible for services end up actually showing up to our classroom. So oftentimes we have up to 6 staff members spending 10 to 12 hours per student, and half those kids don't show up in our classroom. So that's a lot of time for our staff to make preparations, to plan accommodations, to get things ready to go, and then they don't show up. So we're navigating all of those things. I'm going to talk in a minute about some things that we're putting in place for the upcoming year to plan ahead. But here's where I'm going to interject a little sunshine, because kids are cute and that helps everything that we do. But before I introduce you to my friend, I want to talk a little bit about Mr. Peoples. I think he might still be here. He's still here. So Mr. Peoples has been a part of our community ed team since 2003. He started in our after-school program, quickly transitioned over to preschool, was a community ed preschool teacher in the bilingual preschool program up at Heights for a few years, and then last year was able to participate in the ASU master's program, where he is now able to get a free master's degree while he's working in Madison, going to school full time, and will graduate in May with his master's degree in special education and continue to service the students here in the district. So it is amazing. I'm a firm believer of growing our own, and it's been awesome to watch him explore. So Mr. Peoples is our special ed resource teacher over at Simus, and this is my friend Azazel. Started in the 3-year-old classroom with us at the beginning of the school year, and had some more significant needs than some of our other gen ed staff were used to seeing. It was difficult to kind of keep him in a classroom. It was difficult to get him engaged with any of his peers, primarily nonverbal at the start of the year. And so with our first year of inclusion, we were taking a lot of deep breaths. There were a lot of supports that were happening with a teacher who was only in his second year, trying to navigating a 3-year-old classroom as well. Through the supports of Mr. Peoples and the gen ed teacher, Mr. Junior over at Simus, he was able to start attending. The picture on the right is an art masterpiece activity that he was able to engage in. He absolutely loved snack time, and you could get this kid to move mountains if you had a wand of bubbles close to you. So it was really fun to watch him grow. And I had this put together to celebrate some of the successes that Azazel had, and shortly after I had submitted the PowerPoint to Miss Marshall, we got an email from Mom that they had to unexpectedly move to Southern Arizona, which made me again, another example of we invest in these. But I wanted to read something to you that Mom wrote in the email when she notified us of his withdrawal. And she said, quote, "I wanted to thank you all for the work you guys have done with Azazel this year. He has shown immense improvement, and we couldn't have done it without you. I'm sad that he wasn't able to finish the year with you guys. I know he had a lot of fun. He learned so much, and he loves you. Thank you again, and we wish you all the best." One example of a whole lot of kids in our preschool program that are making huge strides, and the parents that are appreciative of the work that they are doing. So that's our friend Azazel, and we have many, many more in our preschool classrooms that it's been a treat to get to know. So where are we going now? One of the things that we're navigating in our gen ed classrooms is that we need to continue to build skills and confidence for both our paraprofessionals and our preschool aides. As we're looking at the supports, we have strong gen ed teachers, we have strong special ed resource teachers, and then there's extra adults in the classroom that are have giant hearts and really want to support kiddos, but they're stuck with just one tool in their toolbox. And so we're needing to expand some of those with, I don't know how to work with students with these types of needs, or I don't know what to do in this type of situation. So we're working with both the Student Services Department and some of our Quality First resources that we have to increase the training that they have so that they feel more capable of helping support the students in their classrooms. We're going to continue to develop Continued development, that makes more sense. For developing IEP goals that more strongly align to preschool developmental level. So we have some great resources that are provided through Student Services where we have a list of IEP goals that we can pick for students when they register with us. The challenge that we have is that the evaluation process, there is typically 4 adults in a classroom with 1 student, and we have them for 45 minutes. That kiddo and the kiddo that comes for 2 hours in a classroom of 20 students often has different needs because of the resources and the adult interactions that we can have. So how do we navigate some flexibility with the goals that we're setting while still maintaining compliance for the IEP goals that we need to have? And a lot of that is conversations with parents about, hey, we're going to start this. An IEP should be a living, breathing document that we don't just touch once a year, and just making that more of the norm and getting our staff able to understand how we can do that and that that's okay. Continue to work with families to understand inclusion and co-teaching. Sometimes when you have a kiddo that may have been at home the whole time and they have some additional needs, and you tell a parent that we're recommending an inclusion class and there's 19 other friends in the class and they go, no, thank you. So being able to talk to them about the benefits of inclusion, be able to talk about these are the supports that we're gonna have, this is why it's important, early intervention is huge. So being able to articulate those both with our enrollment process and then with our team through the IEP process to say this is what it is and this is how we're going to support them. And then also to talk through about our current system is set up so that they can come in for 2 hours. I couldn't have done that with my kids. And so what options do we have of, I have to work all day, how can I have full day childcare for my kiddo when the special ed services are only for the 2 hours? Is there transportation or is there daycares that we can partner with, those types of things? So we're exploring those options as well. Again, continuing to talk to them about the importance of early intervention and then figuring out how else we can support the students in our classroom, the staff that are engaged in this amazing work, and then the families so that they can continue to support their kiddos at home. I'll entertain any questions.
Mr. Hunt.
Thank you for the presentation. Really proud that our district is leading on this. So I've got a couple questions that kind of like go down the funnel. So I'll start at the top of the funnel. What are we using as a guide for how it is we're rolling this out?
So there is some overarching guidance from ADE. Across the state, preschool has been the last to the party, so there are not a whole lot of districts that have great examples that will work in Madison. There are some that have a lot of Title I funding where they can use a lot more peer models that those parents don't have to pay. And a lot of those programs are, maybe 2.5, 3 hours. So again, not something that could help with the childcare that our Madison families really need. So our student services team and I have been exploring other options. I know we've been out to tour Mesa. I know we've been out to tour Dysart. I know we've been out to tour a couple of those, taking the good things that they're doing and learning and then trying to tweak it to support the needs that our Madison community has told us are important.
Great. So,
I just wanted to add, we also have partnerships with ASU for early childhood, and they've been really supportive of training needs for our staff and having current research to help support our program.
Great. You answered my next 2 questions in
Oh.
we're chugging along. So then I guess I'll ask my final question is, so then through that, how are we gathering or is ASU gathering kind of inputs and outputs and outcomes from this work?
So there's the basic child outcome statements. The COS is what they're another wonderful acronym. So those are collected by ADE, and we do get those feedbacks. Since this is the first full year in community ed, I'm a little bit of a data nerd, and so I'm trying to collect a lot more data than I got at the beginning. So as I mentioned, that conversation where half of our kiddos that were going through this eligibility and evaluation process aren't actually coming to us, that's not data that I was able to inherit. So I'm starting to kind of create that baseline data now, looking at the level of needs, the level of minutes, because there is a difference between X number of kids and Y number of minutes, right? Just because they have a kid, they could need 5 minutes of speech, they could need, an hour and a half of pretty intensive therapy. So we're trying to collect all that data now. And I think we've got a great start to that, and it'll give us a nice baseline to see where we're going forward.
That's great. And it does seem like something that an eager researcher at ASU would be interested in, you know, learning more, or taking that on as a research project as well. So thank you.
Mrs. Grush?
Anyone? Okay. Thank you. First, I want to thank you for everything you've done in community ed. I remember when you first came on as director, and we had a very long phone call about the busing situation when I was a parent and complaining about the sports and stuff. So, anyway, it's like night and day since you came on, and so thank you for everything you're doing. And I'm sure it'll be a nice transition since you'll still be around when you change your position. So, I wanted to ask about Madison Heights. So, are there there's no inclusion program or anything at Heights now? It's strictly like this.
That's correct. Sure, it's up to you.
Are you comfortable? Go ahead.
Yeah. So the reason that decision was made, again, we try really hard in preschool to align with K4. And what we find in preschool, the primary need in preschool is always communication. And we find it is difficult to support a student's communication need in one language when the entire classroom is functioning in two. And so when we know that that's the primary need, and again, same thing with K4, we, again, can still service. So if a student lives in the Heights boundaries, we are still going to service their needs. We as a district then make the decision with the family and say, okay, where can we best suit those needs? Can it be at Heights? Which we do have some needs only type resources, and we do have a couple of preschool students that just come in for speech services, meet with a speech pathologist, and then leave. But we don't have any of the inclusion set up at Madison Heights or at MTA preschool either.
Thank you. I was wondering if it had something to do with the Spanish immersion, but for K through 4, they still have full services, right? For if you're in the neighborhood or boundaries.
Services depending on the staffing that we have available at that site.
Of course. Because, just want to remind everyone that our boundaries go all the way out to 32nd Street, and we often don't remember. We often think it's further into Central Phoenix, but it does go pretty far east. And I asked because I did have a neighbor that was planning on sending their child to Heights who did need some special services, and they were very disappointed that it happened to be the year that we stopped doing them there. So they ended up in private, but I'm hoping they'll come back for kindergarten. So maybe, something to think about in the future.
Member Gresham and members of the board, another consideration that we had was to keep this cost neutral as we transitioned. And so we had the 4 preschool teachers that were providing the resource services. So keeping one in a specialized classroom for those students that have more needs, and then having 3 that were available for those neighborhood schools, and with the language consideration at Madison Heights, and then the full open enrollment at Madison Traditional, it helped us be able to place those 3 and remain cost neutral while still providing the services that the students through Child Find needed. And our numbers have pretty much stayed the same, but it could be through the years that it does increase and have at every campus.
And of course, they have the option of going to the other campuses.
That is correct.
Of course.
Thank you. And of course, if we had all the funding we needed, it would be an issue.
Mr. Holcomb.
Yes. Thank you. I mean, your presence and your team, you've gone through this, and the flexibility you've shown, being able to adapt. You said you have all these unknowns that come your way, and being able to adapt to that the way that your team has been able to. That's great. One of the things, my daughter is a special ed teacher too, and one of the things that she found out is keeping Paris. And particularly with the inclusion, you were talking about having pairs that can adapt to that as well. Is that a restriction on that, being able to get enough, qualified or pairs who can work with this system? Is that a restriction at all on what you're able to do?
So this school year, we have not had any open preschool para vacancies. We did hire one the week before school started, but the rest of them have been rollovers from the year before. I think where we're seeing some of the needs come is, again, when we were at the specialized classroom, they're used to being 2 to 3 adults in a classroom with maybe 5 to 6 kids, and now we're 2 to 3 adults in a classroom with 20 to 22. And so there's a little different when you have similar needs, but then there's also other kids that need help with other things. And so it's just, again, trying to add some more tools to their tool belt to be able to service all the students that are in the classroom that they're servicing. But as of this time, I hope we don't have any more the rest of this year, but we haven't hired any new paras for this school year.
That's good. I also wanted to, if you could, expand a little bit on the buy-in on both sides from the parents. I mean, there's those who are getting the special services, and then on the inclusion, because you can get, those don't always mesh. And if you could address that a bit, I'd appreciate it.
So when I met with Miss Marshall and Miss Dolan, the student services director, we started this conversation last fall. And so we had a lot of conversations both with staff and families. And as soon as the decision was made, we were able to start communicating with families last spring before the summer and said, hey, families, this is what's happening. I will say it was a small amount of parents because, again, the pre-K students that were rolling up into kindergarten, they went on to kindergarten and had their normal services. So it was just the 3-year-olds that were rolling up into that pre-K group. Spent a lot of time on the phone, a lot of meetings with parents, a lot of conversations, a lot of, well, what does that mean? What do you mean you're gonna put my kid in a class with all these? We had conversations about transportation, does that mean it's longer? What do you mean I can't stay at Heights? All of those conversations. And although they took times, once we had the research to show them, Mrs. Dolan was great at providing a lot of those user-friendly research documents that said this is how we've made these decisions, this is why this is a benefit to your child. And then the next thing that we did is we got them into our general education classrooms. One of the easy parts for us is we've been holding preschool parents' hands for decades, and I think our gen ed preschool teachers are phenomenal at listening to those parents that are afraid at letting their littles go and say, this is what we're gonna do, you'll be okay, you'll drop them off, we'll touch base with you. Lots of communication with parents, and so we really, again, I don't want to say we didn't have any concerns, but those concerns were addressed with some conversations. There wasn't an existing student on an IEP last year that didn't re-enroll. There were some new ones that were coming in that didn't take us up on our services, but we were able to get the rest of them on board.
And for those who are not on the IEP that are in there too, so now that you've gone through this, are you getting the buy-in now? Are the parents comfortable on both sides?
Yeah, so we did send out a letter in the spring, again, to those 3-year-old parents. I did not get a single phone call or email response from a gen ed parent in the spring. As with any classroom, I'm sure across the district, right, when there becomes a disruption in a classroom, that's usually when your phone starts ringing and saying, well, what are you doing to keep my students safe? And again, we've had the ability to say, these are the support. We are here to educate all students. These are the supports that we're putting in place for all students. I think those conversations are a lot easier in preschool because universal supports, we're all learning how to keep our hands to ourselves and stand in line and wash our hands and go to the bathroom and all of those things. So when we're supporting all students, it's a little easier to explore that. We have had a couple situations where we can say, yeah, we need to change our supports. We don't have the appropriate level of supports. Again, going from a 45-minute screening with 4 adults to a classroom of 20, we have had a couple situations where we've either needed to increase some service minutes or supports in that classroom, or increase a support to move them to a more restrictive environment. And so we've been able to meet with parents and say, these are the options that we have, and this is how we're going to ensure that everybody gets what they need in the classroom.
Well, good. Yeah, I hope to master some of those skills myself someday. And just the last, you put so much into this, and that now that you're moving on, I mean, it's a little, how are you feeling about the move?
I am excited to start a new chapter. As I've told the team, 20 years in Madison, I'm excited to continue to serve this community that I hold very dear, and I believe my skill set can continue to serve other employees and staff. or staff and families of the community. I will say today was a hard day. I notified my team yesterday and today, and they're still here. So that really means a lot. But they'll come talk to me later. But the fact that they were all able to come and say, Keisha, if this is what's best for you, that's the team that we've built. And I've told them that I will work very closely with Ms. Marshall, and I trust her leadership and trust the process of hiring a replacement, and that they are all doing amazing work every day, and that my only hope is that they can hire an additional over-communicator like myself and somebody that can do nothing but support them to continue to do the great work they're already doing.
Member Holcomb, I was just going to add anecdotally about the parent support. Parents, they shared from the field trip perspective for the developmental preschool, and now that it's the co-teaching model and inclusion, it was the first time the preschool children had been invited on field trips. And the parent volunteers that we're getting for the students that are receiving that resource support has just been incredible to see. And certainly our expectation is that as they go into kindergarten, they will be better prepared versus having services in such a private, almost one-on-one setting, to having it in a classroom setting, which will mirror more the kindergarten setting. So it's just been great to hear anecdotally the parent feedback.
I just wanted to add, are you done? Yes. So first of all, I think the inclusion model requires a level of bravery. I mean, without a doubt, of everyone that's been involved in this program, innovation, open-mindedness. My kids attended an inclusion preschool, Creative Bridges, has had that model for a very long time. And I definitely saw in my children, because they had a number of children on the spectrum who were in their classroom. They learned empathy, they learned patience, they learned kindness, they learned that everybody has different strengths, and that they too had things that they had to work on. And I think that it is really true that every kid will benefit in those classrooms. So I really appreciate the work. I just have a few quick questions. I'm thrilled that more of the teachers are learning about IEPs, because as a parent who had a kid on an IEP, have felt there was a significant deficit. And I think the more we understand that this is a planning document, that is a living document, like you mentioned, that we work on together, and it evolves as the kid accomplishes some goals, maybe new needs arise. I think the more people that understand that process and aren't afraid of it, and that don't see it as just a paperwork problem, but rather a document that helps us get this young person to where they need to be, I just can't begin to express my gratitude and appreciation for that. Really quickly on the, moving the kids closer to their homes, I assume that means the transportation time on the bus is less for those kids, or if parents have to drive them, like that is certainly, I assume, appreciated in many different ways. I was curious. This is a big change when you combine the culture of your early childhood resource. That is a big difference. And again, when I mentioned bravery, like, wow, I assume you're still navigating that, but how did that work? Like, because I'm just blown away, because yes, we have a culture in Madison, but within Madison we have cultures. Every school has their own culture. And so can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think that is something that we could all learn from, frankly, how you navigated it, how it was managed, and how you're continuing to do that work.
That was a navigation, for sure. So as I mentioned, we started the conversations back in the spring when Mrs. Dolan and I kind of shared some of those leadership. Not good, bad, or indifferent, but no two people lead the same. And so there were a lot of very forward and transparent conversations about, this is who I am. These are things that I find important. These are things that I find unacceptable, and these are how we're going to kind of navigate through those. I always follow expectations up immediately with a listening ear and understanding. Tell me does that sound, does that make sense? Is that clear? Are there questions that you have? There have been some hiccups, and there have been like, hey, we said this was going to happen and it's not looking like that's going to happen. Tell me why. Can you help me to understand? it's taken a team. I think coming into an existing community ed team where we had 6 really strong gen ed educators that now our co-teachers were coming into, I think they were able to say like, hey, you just have to call Keisha and say this is what's going to happen, right? Communicate with me. You know, I'm not untouchable. I'm not always right. So call me and say, hey, this isn't working. It did help that Mr. Peoples came from the community ed side of the house. So that was helpful. But I also have Ms. Sotelo is our program manager, and then Ms. Keffer is our preschool coach, and the two of them are in classrooms every day. And with their special education experience and their background, being able to listen and being able to navigate that's inconvenient versus, hey, Keisha, a lot of people are talking about this and we might need to come up with a solution. And so they've been really masterful at letting people vent and hearing about change and hearing about uncomfortability, and then navigating what is uncomfortable and what is fear and what is something that we really need to dig into, and then communicate that with me so that I can dig in and figure out where those supports need to happen. It continues to be a work in progress. Our team has been incredibly coachable, which I am grateful for. I tell people at job fairs in our Love of Madison, right, like if you will come in and do the hard work every day, we will be here and right alongside you. And I think that's been modeled by the resource teachers through and including today, you know, as I communicated with the preschool team, you know, one of those resource teachers that has been in this district a very long time, you know, appreciated that I'm not a teacher. I have a finance degree, and so I have had to ask all those questions, and her appreciating that I've asked the questions and not just said this is what we're doing and this is why. Ultimately, I do still have to give that direction, but I'm going to ask the questions first. So it's been a journey, but it's been a team approach, and I think we've come a long way. And with that clear vision, and we're going to focus on the kids and we're going to focus on the families, and they've started to see some of those benefits. And so I'm excited to see what next year brings for that team, because I know even without me, they will continue to make great strides for those kids.
Thank you so much. It says so much about you, but also everybody here and everyone is part of the team. I mean, extraordinary work. Any additional questions? All right, thank you so very much. All right, moving along to item 9, action items. Item 9.1, Superintendent's 2026-2027 budget recommendations. Dr. Guerin, please present this item.
Thank you, President Kazi, Vice President Hunt, members of the board, cabinet, and guests. I think this superintendent budget presentation is a very timely topic after our Madison Advocate presentation. I want to thank all of the work of the stakeholders in interest-based negotiations and budget advisory. We've applauded our process time and time again, and the transparency, the thought, the collaboration, the multiple steps that we get to bring this process together really helps us have a drama-free process, that people understand that we are putting the money and the resources, though they may be very limited, on what is most important for students. We're always looking at our vision and value statement to drive that work. And in a very lean year, I think the team did a tremendous job. So I want to thank the cabinet members that were involved and everyone who represented this. So I want to just do a quick touch, and I know you already heard this from Assistant Superintendent Thompson, but we continue to get the minimum amount that's constitutionally required, which is a 2% inflation increase, which is $816,000. We did have a student decline this year, slight decline, which put us in a deficit of $300,000. No other factors identified at this time. I was relieved that our federal funding was remained neutral. That was actually a little bit of a pleasant surprise because I was ready for worst case scenario there. So this is the current state of the budget. You know, we're not going to have a budget from the legislature till June. That's what typically happens. But we have to get contracts out. We have to, and frankly, we have navigated this process for many years without a solid budget. So before we go into interest-based negotiations and budget advisory, we want to be really transparent about what we have to spend, right? And we knew there wasn't a lot of money to spend out there, so we leaned into working conditions and what is important for staff to be able to empower them to do their job, to love their workplace. So within the constraints that we were working in, we knew that we had $750,000 available for next year, which would be about a 2% salary increase if that is the way they designated to spend the money. Assistant Superintendent Thompson shared that ASRS was a small decrease. We'll take it. Benefit costs are unknown. We've budgeted 4% just in case, but we'll know early March. So that will be coming your way soon. We have a goal of a 4% budget carry forward. We're not quite there. We want to get to 1.9. We're currently at 1.3. So as we work every year and current year funding, we are trying to make sure that we have some carry forward just so we can be flexible and nimble in regards to what students show up or not, or when we have to add a teacher, all the things that we have to be prepared for. It's necessary due to our current year funding, and it allows us to commit to our staff members, right? We have to be able to do that. So I'm not going to go through all the names, but I just want to highlight again the interest-based negotiation team. You will notice that some are on both interest-based negotiations and budget advisory. That's really quite a gift of time, but that creates, because budget advisory is staff members, but also community members that are involved in the process. We want to be very transparent and open to our community. And then interest-based negotiations is more like salary, benefits, and working conditions. So I really want to applaud a prior superintendent who set that up. I think those two tracks working hand in hand to lead to my current recommendation that I'm presenting to you has served Madison very well. So I'd highlight the budget advisory team quickly. So my recommendations are going to look stunningly similar to what you saw last year, and these are in order of priority. So we are recommending a 2% salary increase for all staff members across the board. Benefits continues to be very important to Madison staff. They want us to continue to provide training and information so that staff can make informed decisions about their specific needs. Madison continues to fully cover the cost of one plan for an employee. So as an employee, your benefits could be covered. And we continue to provide $1,400 for the health savings account and a lot of education going around that so people can understand what might be the best fit for them. I'm pleased to report the sick leave bank donation. We've had some robust conversations here at the dais, and we want to get this right. So we are committed to it, but we want to form a committee to research and create program guidelines so it best serves the purpose as intended, and that it is also as much as cost neutral as possible. So we're going to get to work right on that, but that is something I'm recommending. I have a little glimmer of good news on the middle school new teacher mentor. Now first, as we talk about direct classroom spending, I want the record to show that our employees found that our middle school new teacher mentor, that having two teacher mentors, not just one, was important to staff. And these are senior staff that don't need a mentor anymore. So they're looking at colleagues that we're bringing in and wanting to pay it forward and knowing that the support that they needed, they want for themselves. So I just think that's important to note. But also when we talk about direct classrooms funding, our teachers know that this is not on that list, right, for the 60%, but it is needed. So the good news is that we found a way to fund it one more year. This was a grant-funded position that ADE gifted us. Frankly, we have really great relationships with ASU, ADE, and when a little bit of money comes, they know that we'll make use of it. So sometimes we get these one-time things. So because it's only going to be 1 year, we're going to ask to look for other grant-funded or to revamp that program that you heard the amazing presentation on to make it work with one less mentor. But that will give them some time to navigate that and try to seek that grant money. So that was wonderful that we were able to make that happen. This is more working conditions because there wasn't a lot of money, but the team really worked hard on really honing in on what these could be. So we are going to utilize 2 of our TCT times for conference week. So conference week will be solely focused on conferences and not professional development during that week. And then we will also look at, there was some question about some sites having more out-of-school commitments than others. That really is a site decision, and so we're going to look at having some parity and openness in conversations, but site reps will address that. It's important to know that I meet monthly with Teacher Advisory Council, which is the lead rep from each district, and we bring in cabinet members or directors, so we have open lines of communication with the site reps as well. PD for continuing employment. We really need to invest in our classified staff with professional development, and Dr. Lomeli has piloted the CARE program, so we're going to continue to build into that. And we have some great employees with some innovative ideas that you will continue to see. We want to be innovative, not just for our students, but for our employees and how we support them. This is exciting that we're going to have a new hire accrued leave that we will front load 3 days for our newest employees, so that if, they're not used to all of the 5-year-old germs. I know I was sick for 2 years straight when I taught kindergarten when I was new because I didn't have the immunity yet. So they will just get a small front load just in case they need to miss. They have a child that's sick. They won't have to wait till they've accrued a day, so it won't impact their pay. And we'll monitor the cost of that and see how that goes, but we're excited about that. We are committed to national board stipend increase so that there's parity. We have some at 2,000, some at 3,000. So as additional funding becomes available, we're just going to chip away at that. Sick leave payout. We did a study on this. There was, a request right now it's at 5 years that then you get sick leave payout. We looked around, we are very competitive in that area, but we're going to continue to communicate the focus for it so employees understand how that works, and it also is a nice retention incentive to work toward. We've learned a lot about co-teaching this evening and second order change, and we're really working on caseloads and responsibilities on how we can manage those common prep times for the co-teachers and how it impacts the special ed teachers and the resource teachers. And I want to applaud Ed Services and Community Ed and all the work that is going in, because it is, when you change up what a classroom looks like, it is a significant amount of change, and the resources are different. And we're doing this without any additional funding. And it simply just costs more in time, right, and all of that. So, but we know it's the right thing for kids. So those are my recommendations, very much aligned with what came out of interest-based negotiations and budget advisory, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, Mrs. Gresham?
Thank you. I just have, this isn't really a question as far as this goes, and this may be something that Ms. Catlett could look into, is there has been a few times floated a bill to have teachers, which are state employees, covered by the state health plans, and maybe their dependents could be included and stuff. So I'm not sure where that's at or if anybody else knows, but I'm curious.
I can address that a little bit. I'm involved with an organization called Greater Phoenix Education Management Council, and there was a small study done recently. We were advocating for that, and I think it just led to, we need to examine it more. But I think there's so many that it would. They simply couldn't afford it. So if we tried to put all the people in the education system on the state retirement, it would essentially collapse it. Yeah, it would not be affordable, but they're looking for other innovative ways to do that. And there's stakeholder groups within these different organizations that are working together to find a solution, because districts simply cannot continue to absorb the increase in healthcare. We're a financially stable, healthy district, so we find a way. Others are really struggling, so it is a really important point, and I know we're trying to find innovative ways to do that, but that didn't work out at this point.
And just to add to that, the benefits that are offered at the state level are different than are offered by districts. So some districts might have richer programs, other districts might have lesser programs, so it actually costs districts more, and it's challenging issue to tackle, but I'm glad that Guppy Mac and Dr. Guerin's looking into it, so thank you.
I would also highlight that the state budget heavily subsidizes that program as well.
Yep.
So
Yep.
there's a cost
That's
that's,
true.
yep.
Did you have something on this topic, Mr. Hunt? I do. Oh, go ahead.
Mr. Hunt, yeah.
I just want to, I guess, first applaud superintendent and the cabinet on an orderly, transparent process. I think that reinforces trust in government when we have that, and when there's multiple stakeholders engaged in the decision making, and so then in turn, reinforces trust in the populace. So thank you for giving this the due time that's really important. And then you kind of answered my second question, so don't feel like you have to belabor it. But if we look across everywhere else, health insurance costs are just skyrocketing for employers and employees. Do we feel that we are in a place to be able to be flexible should our benefit quote come back in a crazy place like it is in other places in the economy?
That is a great question, Vice President Hunt. So as you recall, last year, we were in a situation where we were faced an unexpected increase, and we brought another provider to the table, and then our provider found a way to lower. So this year, we decided, Dr. Lomeli led a process to look at other trusts. 3 different trusts were invited to the table to present. One decided not to submit because we're not self-insured, and they were more interested in going that direction. And then, so we have 2 right now. So we've received 1 bid from one that we're not with right now, which is Kairos, and we will receive as Bates information in early March. So without going through a formal RFP process, which is quite expensive and ties our hands on some of the decision making, we've gone more the insurance trust route, and Dr. Lomeli's done a great job working with other cabinet members as well. And we brought a stakeholder group to hear both presentations. We're bringing that stakeholder group back. Dr. Lomeli's bringing both stakeholder groups back once we have the numbers. So it's another example of us educating and really relying on our employees to tell us what's important about their benefits, and really trying to have these companies stay competitive by not just relying on one and hoping for the best.
I had one other comment, and this is, I'm just putting this out into the universe because someday we might, things might be different, but, and some districts have been able to do this, but paid family leave would be a huge benefit for all teachers in the state at some level, because, most employers do offer that, but not teachers or public school staff. So if someday that was a possibility, then we should definitely look into that. Yeah.
Additional comments or questions before I entertain a motion? I will looking for a motion to approve Superintendent's 2026-2027 budget recommendations as presented.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Please vote accordingly. That motion carries. Moving along to action item number 9.2, 2026-2027 salary ranges and extra duty pay. Dr. Guerin, are you introducing this item?
Yes, I will. President Kazi, members of the board, cabinet, and guests, because you approved the budget, we are now going to ask Dr. Lomeli to lead us through the salary ranges, extra duty pay, and staff contracts.
Thank you, Dr. Guerin. Madam President, members of the board, cabinet. The next item we bring for request that you approve is our salary ranges and extra duty pay that is necessary for us to issue contracts. And then 9.3 item, the next one after that, is the actual approval of our contract templates so that we can issue contracts. Our contract templates have been reviewed by legal counsel, and they've made some small adjustments, and they do that every year. We take them to our legal counsel for review.
Thank you, Dr. Lumley. Are there questions, comments? All right, going to move these two items separately. Entertain a motion to item 9.2. I need a motion to approve the 2026-2027 salary ranges and extra duty pay schedules as presented.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Please vote on the motion. That motion carries. Moving along to item number 9.3, which Dr. Lumley has already introduced. Are there any questions or comments regarding this item?
Just a quick question. I know it's been the legal counsel and tweaks, but were there any real changes in the contract other than?
The only change was we, for consistency, there was a exempt employee contract that did not include the liquidated damages that we charge to other groups. So we added that to make them consistent across the board.
All right. Thank you.
I will entertain a motion then to approve the 2026-2027 staff contract templates as presented.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Please vote on the motion. That motion also carries. Moving along to item 10, future meetings. Dr. Guerin, please introduce this item.
Madam President, members of the board, thanks for the lengthy meeting. I do want to point out we have a young man in the audience who's working on a badge. And so if he did ask after the meeting if anyone wanted to engage with him, he had a few questions. And so thank you for hanging in on our long meeting.
What badge are you working on? A citizenship badge?
Yes.
Oh, of course. Are you working on your eagle and this is the last one?
I'm not there yet, but I'm getting closer to it.
Excellent. All right. One of us will definitely speak. It's probably you'll get more than one knowing this group.
Thank you for coming.
I got the citizenship badge, but then I think we were still in England. But
So our next meeting isn't until March 24th. So thank you for all the work tonight because we'll be able to, March 15th contracts dates, we'll be able to get contracts out, right, Dr. Lumley? And then March 24th, we will have You Make a Difference Shining Star with Simus and Meadows, gifted scope and sequence presentation, science curriculum adoption, and then President Kazi's bringing back a board evaluation summary from the work from our study session. For an action item, we will have audit reports and compliance questionnaires, and then it's going to be April. So I'm very excited that we will have a study session at 4 o'clock and we're bringing Helios to us because we can't have a public meeting at Helios. So we will live stream the data center. Just so you know, ALT did a field trip to Helios this week and it was really incredible. We'll also have a 21st century update and more to come. Oh, and we're really hoping to bring the health insurance plan information to you quite soon.
Thank you, Dr. Guerin. Any questions? All right. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Moved.
Second.
Oh, come on, you guys. It's moved and seconded to adjourn the regular meeting. Please vote.
Put up names. We'll
Sorry. I clicked before it was done.
Uh-oh. Well, that's okay. We're adjourned.
Means dinner.